Hello, I'm Nicholas Snow, and this is a bittersweet episode of Notes from Hollywood. I'm prepared with Kleenex if I need them. This episode is coming to you live on October 25th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, the day after the sudden and tragic death of Leslie Jordan. People all over the world are feeling the pain of Leslie's loss. But the people who are on my show today are his creative family, and not just his creative family, his very close, deep, personal family. And if you added up all of the decades that my guest knew Leslie together, you'd have, well over a century. This episode was scheduled in advance of the 22nd anniversary screening of the film Sordid Lives that's happening this Saturday at the Camelot Theaters in Palm Springs, California, where I am right now, benefiting the Del Shores Foundation. And this was scheduled to promote that event, and my guest on the show will be here for that event. Del is not joining us tonight, and I always knew that would be the case. And upon Leslie's death, I wasn't sure that my other guests would want to join me, would be in a space to join me, but they've conferred, and I'm honored that they're here, and they're here with you, and that we can collectively create this celebration of art, this celebration of the power of connection, the deep strength that comes from laughter, and all of this in the embodiment of Leslie Jordan. And you see on the screen a photo of Del Shores with Leslie, and that's a fairly recent photo. And then juxtaposed with that is a photo of Leslie as Brother Boy, an iconic role. And there's so much history here that we're going to get into it, but we have an amazing, amazing show for you. And in ways, it's kind of the first memorial service for Leslie featuring members of his family. I think Leslie would want us to be here and experience joy and happiness and gratitude, and that's what we're going to be doing. So to continue the broadcast, before I bring on Emerson Collins, Ann Walker, and Newell and Rosemary Alexander, I haven't known Emerson for decades because none of us have known Emerson for decades, but I've known everyone else for decades that I've just mentioned. And Emerson has worked closely with everyone that we've talked about for quite some time now. So first up, we're going to enjoy the trailer for the film Sordid Lives, and I'll be back with my special guests after this.
I sure as hell wouldn't have quit smoking if I had known my sister was going to die. I'll see you at the funeral. Ouch.
Mama hit her head on the sink.
I have killed a woman!
Did they arrest you, Debbie? For what?
Leaving two wooden legs in the wrong place?
She tripped on your legs on the way to the bathroom. Could happen to anybody.
You mean anybody with two wooden legs?
Shut up.
How's Ty? Is he still out in Los Angeles?
Uh-huh.
I'm an actor, and I'm gay.
He started doing theater, sissy. Awful stuff.
My grandmother died yesterday, and I do not want to go back down to the funeral. You know, it's Texas.
I have enough on my mind without you bringing up Brother Boy. Your mama died.
What? He thought he was Tammy Wynette. He looked just like Tammy in the early years.
Come on, Olivia.
It's Thelma! I thought I was Thelma. No, Thelma's the one with the shitty husband.
Oh, you're drunk.
So this is Wardell.
Shoot her, Wardell. Shoot her in the head.
Brother boy, I'm taking you home now.
Between our thighs. That's the start of our
I'm in hell.
I have had a horrible, horrible day. But you're here now and things are looking up.
Mama, I'm gay.
We were very close.
Well, I guess you didn't think I was gonna make it, did you, Mama?
And what a great time to be able to smile at the joy that comes from that movie trailer. And in no particular order, I would love to welcome to the show Newell and Rosemary Alexander, Ann Walker, and Emerson Collins. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
So I do know that as many of us around the world are feeling the loss, this is hitting all of you particularly hard, because as I've described, Leslie was a member of your inner circle and your closest family. So I can't imagine what it's like to be all of you right now, and my condolences go to each and every one of you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
I'm going to read a remark that Dell published today in his social media. He said, Leslie Jordan was my friend for 37 years. He was the best man at my first wedding. He was the godfather of my daughter Rebecca and claimed my daughter Caroline too. He gave them absolutely no spiritual guidance, but was the best gunkle ever and gave amazing gifts. He was my gay mentor when I came out. He was my muse. When I wrote from him, he heard the lines exactly as I heard them. We were Southern Baptist sissies from the same dirt. As his fame grew, unlike so many, he never changed the dynamics of our friendship. He was my brother. My heart is shattered and I'm overwhelmed with grief. I so appreciate your love, comments, text, and messages. Please call those you love today. Hug them if you can. You simply never know. And then he celebrates the fact that Leslie had recorded a video for young actors. And after that, he says, that's who he was, always willing to give back. I will miss you, my friend, daily, deeply. I will laugh less, and the list of what I will miss about you is vast. I've often described my friend like this. Leslie Jordan has more talent per inch than anybody I've ever known. And then he concludes by saying, my life, my career has been so much better because of you, Leslie Allen Jordan, R.I.P., brother boy. So with that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Newell and Rosemary, among those of us on the show today, you knew Dell and Leslie the longest. Is that true?
We met Leslie about 1975. We came to California in 1973, and Leslie came shortly after that.
Yeah, you didn't forget him once you
Certainly.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily his appearance. He was very clever, you know. I think he read people well, you know, when he was sober, you know. She has been for what,
26 years.
We've been actually, the timing of all this is very weird because we have a show with the Property Brothers coming up that Leslie was our mentor in this. He got to choose someone to redo their house, and the Property Brothers came in and renovated our house. It was amazing.
And the thing is, one of the producers called today to just say how devastated Drew and Jonathan Scott are at losing Leslie, how much fun everybody had working with him, and the producer said, he said, I loved to come to work every day because Leslie Jordan always gave me a hug. and said, "How are you? Let's have some fun."
I love that. And Emerson, I'm going to come to you after Anne, but Emerson, I want you to know I've muted you because I have feedback coming from your computer. So you're muted for now. So Anne, tell me how you first came to know both Del and Leslie.
Oh, it's so many years ago, in 1985 or 80 something, mid 80s. I did a play. Del came to see it. Then I sort of knew everybody because I had seen Cheatin', and I had become a big fan of Del's work when I saw Cheatin', and I read for it when I don't know why I read for it, but anyway, I read for it. I didn't get it, but he remembered me, and then later on, Leslie did a one-man show, which Newell and Rosemary produced, and I was in it. They were both in it too. Called Hysterical Blindness and Other Southern Tragedies That Have Plagued My Life Thus Far. And there we met Joe Pat Ward, who was our musician, our musical director. And then he scored all of Del's films and wrote music and stuff. It was just such a family, it was just such a family. And Leslie was, he was in the midst of trying to get his life together. I spent many years with him getting his life together, and he finally got it together. And I am just so torn up because I think he was really happy for the first time in his life, with his career, with his life, just happy, And how many actors can ever get to say that, where they're just happy with everything? So I've been on the front lines with everybody for these last, 30 years? I don't even know how long, 25 or 30, something like that.
A long time.
Yeah.
And Emerson, I think we're good on your audio now. I just wanted, you're not a newcomer, really.
The new kid on the
You're
block.
not really that new, but you're newer than the rest of us in terms of this circle. I say us. I want to acknowledge you're all much more closer. But I've known you for decades as well, and I've been reporting about all of your good work for a long time. So Emerson, tell me how you joined the tribe. And a tribe it is.
It truly is, this tribe and this family. It's funny, though, every time I think I know all of the stories, somebody says something I didn't know. In my mind, it all started in the 80s. Rosemary Newell, I didn't even know that you knew Leslie in the 70s. Like, that is new information today. And I always describe it as I joined the show after intermission. I joined this life cast, after the 20-minute break for Act 2. In fact, we're all processing differently. It's funny, I almost didn't make it through you reading Del's statement today. And of course, as everyone's struggling, it's extremely hard for him. And I've sort of coped by looking back. I spent yesterday, rather than answering texts or calls, looking back through the photos from just the adventures I've been a part of. I joined in 2005. I did the production of Southern Baptist Sissies in Dallas with Uptown Players. Del flew in to see it and asked me to join the revival they were all doing as a season of Shores that started in 2006. So this is 17 years at Thanksgiving for me. So I've definitely been in it and hung in. But it's interesting because I arrived into this fully fledged family. In fact, I joked early on that I didn't have to make any friends in LA because I landed into this cast and into this family. Rosemary Newell immediately welcomed me as one of their many, many erstwhile children, letting me come to the house. And for holidays, I walked into Thanksgiving 2005 at Del Shore's house, having driven from Texas the night before. And I walked through the door, and Rosemary Newell was there, Anne was there, Debbie Holiday was there, Leslie was there, Scott Presley, Craig Taggart, so many of the various faces that you've seen across so much of the work were all there because they were and are truly a family. It's not just an artistic family. It's a a love family. So many Southerners displaced, and then so many adopted Southerners. And I think that's what's made it all so special. And, you know, sort of at the center was this hilarious duo that was Del and Leslie. I spent this afternoon sort of tracing their work together, starting with Cheatin, and looking at how much they operated essentially as artist and muse, you know, and how much it was a two-handed effort in creating so much of the iconic work that we know. Yeah. And not to diminish anyone else's contribution, but I'm like, I plan to die before any of the rest of the Sordid cast because I will not be able to do this for anyone else. But what all of them built starting so early, that little play in 1996 and theater, in my brain, I see it all so clearly. It's like I was there because of the love they all have for it.
Go ahead.
Del's a preacher. He's a minister. You know, his brother is a minister. Del's flock is so hugely bigger than his brothers, you know. I mean, and Del doesn't push Christianity like some people do. But boy, oh boy, doing Southern Baptist sissies. Oh my God, my grandfather would have shot me in the face, you know. But I love doing it.
One of the things that I just want to say in acknowledging a whole other level of loss that may overlap with some of you is that I have 21 years of sobriety, and Leslie was a powerhouse in the rooms of recovery and made a massive difference for so many people in that realm as well. And there's just nothing more transformative than the experience, strength, and hope of someone in recovery to help lead others along the way.
He was huge in AA when we were traveling.
Yeah.
With the shows, he did a speech at the local AA. 300 or 400 people.
Well, he did that many, many, many times. So, by the way, for our viewers, Rosemary is popping in and out. We knew she would do that. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to the Palm Springs premiere of A Very Sordid Wedding.
Jesus.
And I had the opportunity to interview Leslie, and I'm bringing you that interview here along with some other highlights. For those of you, for my guests, I wanted you to know that this video I'm about to play is 4 minutes and 26 seconds long if you need to take a break. But let's go back in time, not so far back in time, to the world red carpet premiere of A Very Sordid Wedding.
Hallelujah, 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 he loves us.
Over here, please. Right here. Here, Jack.
And right here. Thank you. Right here, Leslie.
David Steen. Come on back.
Hey everybody, Nicholas Snow here with PromoHomo.TV. As promised, I'm bringing you exclusive live coverage from the red carpet world premiere of A Very Sordid Wedding. And people are just now starting to arrive. Leslie, how are you? We're live. Nice to see you. I know.
We used to be young and long-haired.
Yeah, so
you and me both.
I know. Well, I've been a fan and a friend of yours for decades now. Now, how does it feel to be bringing Brother Boy back up to the big screen?
Well, Dale called and said, I've raised the money, and I said, it's been 20 years. What did you raise, $1 a week? It's been 20 years. And if you think I'm going to shoehorn my fat ass into that orange jumpsuit. He said, "Oh, honey, we sold that on eBay a long time ago." So anyway, no, of course. How many actors can say I was there from inception? You know, really seriously, I gave Del Shores a book of short stories. I said, write a funny short story. He wrote The Homosexualization of Brotherhood. Had nothing to do with Nicotine Fit. This other short story he wrote had nothing to do with this other short story he wrote. He threw them all together in a play, and we all read it in his living room. And next at the dog park, I said, it's awful. Shelby, there's too much going on, and now here we are.
Here we are. What do you attribute your longevity in life and in the business?
I think in 1982 I stepped off a bus at the corner of Hollywood and Daylon Vine and Daylon Prairie, and I wanted to find West Hollywood. It had nothing to do with show business or anything, and I dropped anchor. And that's just where I wanted to be. People come to Hollywood and they leave, or they go here and they say, well, I'm going to give it 5 years, or you get married and your partner says, listen, honey, we all have a dream, get a job. None of that. I found West Hollywood, and I was home. And I've slowly just, over the years, this has all happened. But
we love that. And you still go around doing your one-man show everywhere.
44 venues. I'm up to
oh, my
44 venues a year.
My
I can't even tell you, last week was like Modesto. Next week is Cathedral City. I don't even know where all I go.
So you're probably more famous as the character Beverly Leslie from Will and Grace. I'm dying to know, is there any conversations about Beverly Leslie being in the reboot?
Not yet, but you know what? It's a 10-episode pickup, and I was always sort of considered a guest star, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're putting together stories, and it'll go back in July like the shows do, and then they'll have their. But I haven't heard yet, but I'm sure.
And finally, who are your role models in life? Who inspires you?
Lily Tomlin, my number one mentor. Dolly Parton is my number 2 mentor, and 3 is. Probably Carol Burnett, who I've never met, but I went in the other day to meet with Amy Schumer. I didn't get the part, but Carol's coming back to TV, and I was up for it. I didn't get it.
Oh my goodness!
Anyway, those are probably my mentors.
Anything you want to say I haven't asked you about?
Nope.
Thank you. Let me have a hug.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
He loves us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So, this is live, and Love is Love on YouTube says, Leslie was fantastic in many things. I loved him in Sordid Lives and Will and Grace. He's extremely missed. And we know that since that interview, Leslie ended up being very big in the reboot of Will and Grace.
Yes.
Joe Hollywood says, I'm so heartbroken over Leslie's passing. You know, it's no mistake that I decided to set some of the video today to gospel music. I don't know how Leslie would define his higher power today, but I know that so much of the combined work of all of you collectively has been to reach into the hearts and the minds and the souls of the people that were abused and discarded by their churches, specifically for people that come from a Christian faith background. And to set us up for a conversation about just that, I'm going to play a clip from Southern Baptist Sissies. But actually, before I do that, Emerson, I would love for you to tell me about sort of the way that Southern Baptist Sissies became a film.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. Sissies has been one of the big guiding pieces of my life. It is the play that is why I met all of this family, doing the revival in Los Angeles, sharing the role of Benny with Scott Presley, and then doing the national tour. That was my first time producing for and with all of us. And then the stories that piece led to, the responses that all of them got for so many years from the original production, when Dell and I and Louise Beard started our own production company and said, what do we want to do? What do we want to make? We're tired of working with assholes. What's the thing that we want to do that's most important? And we said, let's make Sissies into a film. And we said, realistically, they got very close to making a movie of it years before and it fell apart. And we said, what if we crowdfunded this film and we shot the play, but like the old Playhouse 90 productions, where it feels like you're experiencing one live night at theater. And so we put up the fundraiser and said, hey, if you love the message of this piece, if it has spoken to you, help us raise the money for this movie. And people did. Icons from our family donated, fans from all across the country donated. And so we raised over $100,000 in that first Indiegogo. And we said, all right, we're making the film of the play. And so we rented a theater here in West Hollywood. And we shot 4 live performances of the play in 2 days, which was a lot. We did it twice on a Wednesday, twice on a Thursday, and moved 3 cameras around the theater for each performance. So we had 12 live camera angles of the play. And then we spent 8 days shooting it like a film, where we went in and did close-ups and coverage of all of the scenes through the entire play. And then our brilliant editor, Donna Mathewson, and I sat for a really long time and worked through editing between the drama of the close-ups and then the comedy from the live shows, so that you got the full range of the performance of these powerhouse entertainers. I mean, all 3 of them were with the play from the original 2000 production. And to capture that and make it feel like one live night at the theater, and not knowing whether that was really going to work when we set out to do it, and everyone's sort of just trusting the process and the brilliance of the performers, Anne and Rosemary Newell and Bobby Eakes and Willem and Matthew Scott Montgomery and Luke McClure as the other sissies. And of course, Dale Dickey sitting across from Leslie as Peanut and Odette in that version that Anne originated. And we created this magical, beautiful thing. And your performance was award-winning. Of course it gets the nod for the creation. And Rosemary created all 3 mothers on stage, changing wigs and outfits for each of those boys. And so the culmination of a very long, beautiful piece. And I continue to say we're now a decade away from the movie, that it is the thing I am most proud of. And I don't know that I will ever do anything I'm more proud of than that movie.
Before I get into the clips, what came first, Sissies or Sordid as a play?
Sordid. 96.
Okay, Sordid and then Sissies. Well, I was, I came into Dell's world, theater world with Sissies. That was my introduction. I don't think that I saw the original theatrical production of Sordid Lives. And I know that Newell and Rosemary come from a Christian spiritual background. I don't know a lot about your own faith background. What is your faith background?
About 0. Yeah.
About 0.
I was raised in the Church of Christ and left when I was 18 because they couldn't make me go anymore, because I just didn't like all the fire and hell and brimstone kind of preaching. It scared me, it scared me. And I realized that they are scaring people to do whatever they, no dancing, no, we had no musical instruments in the church. It just seemed so ridiculous, just ridiculous. And then I found the Church of Religious Science of Mind, and it answered a lot of questions. And I stayed in that church for the last 20 years or more. And I'm making a big revelation to everybody. I don't have a real belief system. I realize that there's a higher power, but I just can't believe the Bible. I just don't believe any of it. And the way things are going in this world, I just think when you die, you fucking die, So, I do. I really, really
I love
do.
you so much. That's it. Dirt nap and done.
Yeah, and I've gone the whole gambit, but that religion thing, it did not grab me. But other things have, and I'm gone on to the rest of my life. Just I'm gonna play it out the way I see it. You know.
Um,
I
well,
say to be a believer, but
What?
I just do that to have
We can't hear. I can't hear what he's saying.
you need to sit closer to your microphone, Newell. So one of the things I just appreciate about the rooms of 12-step programs is that everyone there can have their own version of a higher power. It
Yeah.
could be the ocean, it could be the beach, it could be the group, it could be your sponsor, and they could have one or many or no gods, and experience recovery. But one of the things I also appreciate is that in every faith belief, people have fought for the spaces for LGBTQ people to love and accept and exist within the context of those beliefs, which leads me into my question for Newell and Rosemary. I would love for you to share why you think that the power of Southern Baptist sissies is so transformative in so many people's lives. But before I do that, Tom Quicksell says, Ann, Newell, Rosemary, and Emerson,
No.
I just want to hug you all right now. Losing Olivia, my dad, and now Leslie, the last 3 months has been devastating. And she says, oh my God, Ann, I'm right there with you in your belief.
Tom is an old friend. Tom is an old friend of became a fan, but then became a friend, and
Well,
he has been through all the iterations of everything. So we love him.
Okay, and then Lance, a regular viewer of mine and a friend, says that sad, and Love is Love says that I can relate to Ann. I'm an atheist and happy about that. As is Ron Reagan, actually. He doesn't believe in, he doesn't worry about burning in hell. But
No.
Newell and Rosemary, to you, speak about why Dell's work and, of course, Leslie in Dell's work has been so important to people that come from that a fundamentalist Southern Christian background.
Yes, there were hundreds.
Come a little closer to the microphone, Rosemary.
There were hundreds of people after performances of Southern Baptist Sissies when we were doing the play, who came up to me after the show and put their arms around me and said, thank you for telling my story. Many said, I was Andrew. I tried to take my own life many times. Luckily, I failed, but I was so tormented because I had been trained to love God, to love the church, and then suddenly I just was shut out because I was different. And I tried to pray it away, and that didn't work, and I ultimately lost my faith. But they plugged into the message of the boys in the play, you know, and having hope, and mostly just that it told the truth, that it really laid out what it meant to be in the church and want to be a good Christian, but not being allowed the full bowl, so to speak. I married a preacher's kid when I was 19 years old, and so I lived in a church for a while. I went to the church, and I loved the people. I loved my father-in-law, the pastor, but I started to see that the church was a business, and that the people who gave the most money got to have some power. And when it started very early, actually, when I was getting when I was getting married, the first real friend that I made in the household was a black maid. And I loved her dearly. We became friends. We shared a lot of the same humor and spent a lot of time together. And when the wedding came along, I assumed that she would be invited because she was actually, other than the family, the only friend I had there. And they said, "Oh no, we can't invite her." And I said, "Why not?" And they said, "Well, because Mrs. So and so just wouldn't allow it." And I said, "Okay, well, if Sonia can't come, I'm not going."
Good for you.
You know, and then of course the sweet Sonia came back and said, "That's okay. I'll meet you back at the house," because she didn't want to cause a thing.
Well, when Rosemary and I were dating on the quietus, we were both married, right? And we hadn't told anybody about us. We didn't think. So Rosemary was working on a show in San Antonio. She was the Air Force nurse model. And I was shooting a commercial in LA. So I'm trying to reach Rosemary. And I have her phone number, but her maid keeps answering the phone. And finally I said, I need to talk to her about that whole thing. And she got it. And she gave Rosemary my phone number. And we got together in San Antonio. So interesting.
That tells you about how our religious life goes.
Okay, well, Love is Love says, it's awful when religion and religious people are hypocritical because they hate and judge people even though their faith teaches them to love and accept people.
There you go. There you go.
And it is, I still get DMs on Instagram and places from people just now finding Southern Baptist Sissies that we did a decade ago. Dell always imagined that it would eventually be a time period piece, that we'd have moved beyond that sort of hateful rhetoric. And I think the biggest part of the connection, I found Sissies to audition for it in Dallas as a cracking the door of the closet, post-Baylor, postgraduate, traumatized in many ways myself, and wasn't even sure I would get through getting in the play and then doing the play. And the biggest piece of it is that the comment that Dell said he got so often was that it made me know I wasn't alone. One of the worst things about that rhetoric isn't the words, it's it's the men, women, non-binary people sitting in pews, hearing it, feeling like they were the only ones. And today, that they are the only ones. And one of the biggest things we got in response to the piece has always been, it makes me feel like what I went through, I wasn't alone. It didn't just happen to me, because that shame and guilt that kept so many people quiet, kept people afraid. Even as people have moved beyond it, there's lots of unhealed trauma from those periods of life, and that sort of accessed it. Being at film festivals and hearing people sobbing through the end of Southern Baptist Sissies, men in their 60s saying, I thought I was done with all of that trauma, but what it brings up, because there's nothing worse than being told that you're going to hell for who you are, no matter how much they said, hate the sin and love the sinner. But I've turned, in the last 24 hours in the weird emotional journey, Matthew Scott Montgomery, who played Andrew so beautifully in the movie of Sissies, posted the clip of him and Leslie at the end of Southern Baptist Sissies. And Dell has said, Leslie specifically requested this scene as they were building Sissies. He never had any interaction with any of the sissies as the barfly, telling his tragic stories. And they built this moment together that I can see crystal clear in my head without watching the movie, where Leslie walks past Matthew and he turns back and he says, excuse me, what's your name? And Matthew says, oh, I'm not looking for, and he said, I'm not looking for that. Well, not tonight. It's Andrew. And Leslie, as the middle-aged queen, says, don't become me. And I know that it's being further in my journey now. It hits me differently than it did when I was young, absorbed in being one of the sissies. And thinking of what that meant, and you all know, and Nicholas, you have been through so many different parts of so much of our community, what it meant for men of that age who lost their friends and their peers, who lived in that shame, who couldn't come out because it was dangerous to your life. And I look at that now and watch Leslie say, don't become me. Go home, look at yourself in the mirror and learn to love what you see. That was sort of a generational message to me now, you know, saying we could not do that. We hope that you can. And that, wrapping it all back, speaks to the genius of Leslie's talent, that he made you laugh for 2 hours all night long, and then he turned and broke your heart by simply saying, don't become me.
Oh, yeah.
And before we fall too deeply into the trauma of mourning, as we shot that moment in the movie, it's also responsible for one of my favorite stories of Leslie Jordan in life. Because we went to shoot that scene, and Del Shores, being who he is, says to Leslie, said, you know, when you get to the end of that, if you could drop a tear, that would be great. And Leslie said, I can't cry, I'm on Paxil. And so Leslie turns to Matthew in an uninterrupted take, delivers a perfect performance. I'm watching it in the close-up. Everyone is holding their breath. Del yells cut as Leslie drops a single tear down his cheek, and Del runs over and says, how did you drop that tear? And Leslie Jordan whips around and says, well, you know, Florence Ballard died penniless and alone, and Diana Ross showed up at her funeral in a mink coat. And I just thought of that, and it's all it took.
Okay.
Silly sissy.
Well, you know, I remember that scene powerfully from the play and the movie. So what we're going to do is watch back-to-back clips with a slight break in between. We're going to watch the official trailer for the film Southern Baptist Sissies, and I think we're going to then watch one of Leslie's most famous theatrical scenes ever, and I'm sure you know what that one is. So here we go.
Sometimes I close my eyes and create a perfect world. A world of acceptance and understanding and love.
When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing I will be.
There were 4 of us, 4 sissies in Calvary Baptist Church. That's Andrew.
I'm so worried about my boy Andrew.
He was my best friend when I was little.
And his interests seem to be sissified.
That's Benny, the biggest sissy of all.
He's off in a sissy way.
And this is TJ.
I'm living my life for the Lord.
I held out. Mark Lee Fuller, the thinker.
We can ask Jesus all the questions we want.
The day of my baptism, my 12-year-old body and soul fell in love for the first time.
For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
Here's the backsliding homosexual former Baptist.
He's got me smiling when I show me a shame. Got me laughing when my heart is in pain.
I'm not a lesbian. I'm an alcoholic.
And then Satan wants you to wander in that old fun house of alcohol.
I'm just a social drinker. You have a drink, so shall I.
Desires of the flesh. We all have them.
Stop it.
But when you get off, you just find yourself empty.
I love you, TJ. You love me in Christ.
No. But only God can take them away.
It's wrong. How can love be wrong? Because God says it is.
This is where we learn to hate ourselves.
Don't become me, Andrew.
When my spirit is crippled and broken.
Why hast thou forsaken me?
How do you stop the hate that is spewed in the name of the Lord?
You may be afraid, but I'm not.
I know you feel it too. You're just scared.
I never, ever loved you.
TJ!
Sometimes I close my eyes and create a perfect world. A world of acceptance and understanding and love. But I always wake up.
And we're going to go right on to that other scene that I was talking about, and I'm sure all of you know which one I chose.
I'm assuming you were raised Southern Baptist. accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior and was baptized at 9. Amen. Hallelujah. I got kicked out here a little while back over an unfortunate incident I'd rather not discuss right now. And you? What's your story?
Well, we have something in common. I was kicked out early on when I was found in a precarious situation with the handsome assistant pastor fresh out of seminary. My name is Preston Leroy, but folks just call me Peanut.
Nice to meet you, Peanut. Here's to backsliding Baptists.
Here's to backsliding homosexual former Baptists. Here's to sinners that need a redemption.
No. No, honey. I'm not a lesbian. I'm an alcoholic.
Well, as for me, I'm just a social drinker. You have a drink, so shall I.
I can see myself sitting in the Zephyr Theater watching that scene with those two actors on the script. And a shout out to Ed Barron, by the way, who's the person that started inviting me to cover Dell's shows.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I love that.
I would like to just talk a little bit about my own history with all of you briefly.
Because I've also, let me say, because you've done so much and been such a huge part of supporting and sharing and featuring and focusing on us. And not just in the times when the big important things were happening. And we're incredibly grateful for that.
Well, thank you. I was deeply inspired in the early 80s by people who were living and dying of HIV and AIDS. And it taught me that basically the most powerful thing that I had was my own voice. And I just became relentlessly committed to yielding and telling my truth as fiercely as I could. And decades later, I'm still doing it. And one of the things that I know that I appreciate, and whether or not there's something after all of this, is that all of us together create legacies. And we have impact, and we can make the world a better place. And all of us together have in many ways, and our art and our work will live on, just as Leslie is bigger than he ever could have imagined. And that's been in the last 36 hours.
It's true. He got with like millions and millions of followers on Instagram during the pandemic, because he made those little short blurbs, and I think it really shocked him how many that he got. I think it was 5 million.
Oh yeah, it's almost 6 now.
Yeah, and anyway, he was so proud of it because and he just relished in the fact that he could just sit home and do these little short things, and people just started growing. I remember I talked to him actually. Well, we texted on Sunday, because I had read for a couple of small roles for his show. And so I let him know. I just texted him that I had just done it. And then he texted me back on Sunday and said, I'm going to put in a good word for you when I get to work on Monday. And I said, thank you. I so appreciate it. And because they're so small, but they take their time, in figuring it out. But I don't even know. I don't think they're going to they've gone dark actually right now. So I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. But anyway, it would be so bittersweet. We had been up for a couple of things over the years, a couple of series that we went to network with that neither one of us got. But we worked so well together. And, I don't know. He was like my brother. He was my brother. And I miss him so much. I can't imagine.
And I work great together.
Yes, we do.
good together.
You are all great together.
We're all wonderful together. Yeah.
Well, Love is Love says he really did make a huge impact on so many people, such amazing and important stories. And your good friend Tom Quicksell says, heaven is living on in the minds and hearts of those you've touched.
True.
Beautifully stated. So I just wanted to let my guest and my viewers know what's remaining in this really powerful episode dedicated to Leslie Jordan. So we're going to talk about how A Very Sordid Wedding came about and show the trailer. And then we're going to give a tribute to Olivia Newton-John. It would always been my intention to speak about Olivia Newton-John at the beginning of this broadcast in tribute to her. She was very close friends with Del and was in the film of Sordid Lives and in the series of Sordid Lives. And, you know, there's so many stories there as well. So we'll speak about Olivia Newton-John, and then we're going to play Olivia Newton-John singing the theme to Sordid Lives as part of that closing credits sequence that existed in that film. And then all of us here on the show will have some final words as we wrap up. So with that, let's go to you, Emerson. Tell me how A Very Sordid Wedding became a movie.
It was hard. No, I can't. I mean, I kid, but I don't. Sordid Lives, the series that was such a big, exciting thing for everyone, and the tragic circumstances under which it didn't continue, for years and years and years. Fans have abused all the cast and Del. We want more sordid. We want more sordid stories. They created these iconic, beloved characters, all of them. And we, after we made Sissies, we said, let's see what we can do about finally getting to a sordid sequel. And Del worked on a script. And we said, all right, let's start raising money. And everybody thinks, that's easy. And it's not. And so we spent a good 2 years because we were very realistic about we need a real budget to make this. We need a real cast. The original play cast is large and it's only expanded through every iteration. And so we finally got our ducks in a row and enough money in 2017 and found a fantastic partner production company in Winnipeg in Canada. And we flew 20 of our actors to Winnipeg to shoot the Sordid sequel. In fact, I can say now, the original hope was that we'd make A Very Sordid Wedding and A Merry Sordid Christmas back to back together. And we said, we've just got enough money to do one. Let's go do it. It's a morbid day, but we're a morbid group because we said, or else someone in this cast is going to die. And now special how. Look,
yes.
Nobody would appreciate that joke more than Leslie Jordan.
No, I get it. I think all of us know that,
And of course, and Sarah Hunley passed before we even got the movie released. And so
Juanita.
Yeah, it was very special that we got it all done. And we did. We carted everyone to Canada in the freezing cold and tore through that movie in 2 weeks and 3 days in Dallas to get it all together, reunite all of them, and make this final chapter to bring everyone's story to a close.
The hardest job of all was Rosemary.
Yep.
The hardest job of all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Preface it with Sarah Hunley was in not good health and very fragile, and Del asked us if we would accompany her on the flight to Canada.
Well, better you than me. He thought he was going to get my ass taken in.
Anne would have left her on that layover and said, good luck.
But she was so wonderful in the movie. And I have never seen anybody as happy as Sarah was flying first class on American Airlines to Canada. And the stewardesses came down the aisle and they asked if, and Sarah said something. And I said, you better be good to her. She's a movie star. And so after that, the girls would come. Oh, they paid so much attention. And Sarah just became the grande dame.
What happened to her passport?
I can't even do that one. I can't even.
Well, I say we watch the trailer for A Very Sordid Wedding. And I was at the world premiere, but one of our viewers, I just saw his comment, says, I was at the Sordid Wedding premiere in New York City. That night was fabulous. I got to meet some of the cast. I loved the movie. I'm guessing you all know who Love is, but
I don't know. I can't remember.
it's fantastic that Love is watching. And with that, here is the trailer for A Very Sordid Wedding, and there's fabulous Leslie Jordan moments coming up right now.
Well, Mama, it's been 17 years since you died. My son came out as gay right in front of your coffin.
And Mama's ghost is haunting me. Seems like just yesterday that Peggy tripped over them wooden legs.
And I took one of them legs and I bashed in all the windows on his pickup truck.
I'm putting back together that 15-year tribute for Peggy.
Hey, Mama.
You could throw us our wedding.
It's just not exactly the kind of wedding that I always envisioned. I need you to rescue me.
Well, did you hear that the hitchhiker murderer has escaped the pen?
Rise and shine, give God the glory, glory.
I like crazy.
Hardy's new in town. And who are you, the welcome wagon?
Well, you're just never gonna believe what the church is doing.
They're
having an anti-equality revival.
Supreme Court's not the law of this land. Word of God's the law of this land.
We want our rainbow back.
No cakes, no flowers, no photos.
Our kind of Christianity frightens me.
Some things in the Bible that just do not make a lick of sense to me.
Well, I live by the Bible, Sissy. I don't need it to make sense.
That doesn't sound right.
You can't swing a cat in this town without hitting a bigot.
Folks who want to tell you how to live your life.
Gays can't get married in the church.
This feels like a trick question.
Gays can't get married in the courthouse.
Hearts and minds are changing.
We have stopped equality.
Anti-equality works both ways.
And we must stop villainizing our own children.
This is where I learned to be gay.
Under what table?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the amateur show here in the Rose Room at S4.
Ain't it a bit sordid that I sordid lives? It's
All right, then.
Oh!
Get out!
Okay. I am so confused.
You know, those clips, they go by so fast. They're so entertaining that I'm always surprised when they're over. Such fabulous memories. So, you know, this episode was planned before Leslie Jordan died to promote this coming Saturday's 22nd anniversary screening of Sordid Lives, the movie, benefiting the Del Shores Foundation. Emerson, tell us more about the work of the Del Shores Foundation.
You know, pre-pandemic life, our good friend Stuart Bell came and said, I really want to do something for the legacy of your work, Del, and to find an opportunity to pass your experience and expertise on to a new generation. And so we sat and really thought about what it would be. And the Del Shores Foundation's mission is specifically to focus on LGBTQ plus writers who are living in the South, 15 Southern states. And post the lockdown era, we had our very first writer search at the beginning of last year. And so we selected winners this year. And then just in September, we had the very first Del Shores Foundation Writers Festival, the big first program of the foundation. We brought all 3 winners along with every finalist in every category, 12 new LGBTQ plus writers of all identities, all races, all preferred writing, short film, screenplay, play, and brought them all to Dallas for a weekend of workshops that were private for them and panels that were open to the public, including our special guest, Jason Williams, one of the co-creators of the Greater Tuna Saga. And we did open to the public live stage readings of all 3 winning scripts. Del and Rosemary and Newell and Anne were there. Anne's our honorary board co-chair. Newell's on the honorary board. Rosemary's actually on the board, leading the ambassador circle. So we had a phenomenal weekend. really passing on and supporting and building a network for a new generation of Southern LGBTQ writers. And I couldn't have been more thrilled with the result.
Well, that's fantastic. I started to talk about my history with all of you, and then you gave me such a glowing compliment. I was overcome, and I forgot to share some key
Yes,
points.
share it.
So I was at the big anniversary of Sordid Lives at the Camelot Theaters, in which the bus came down with all of you, and Olivia was with you, and everyone was with you, and you were all treated like rock stars. And this was before I was working in video, but I have amazing photos of that night. But fast forward a long time, and I was invited to go to the premiere of Sordid Lives at Outfest with my friend Fabrice, who's a huge Olivia Newton-John fan. I have social anxiety, and at the last minute, I came up with a reason not to go. He went. He had a great time. He met Olivia that night, and it was really spectacular. And there's other things that I could share, and I was able to just go into my archives and find one clip of Leslie, and I'm sure that I have many more. But in addition to having let the viewers know how to support the Del Shores Foundation, I also would love for them to know how they can support PromoHomo.TV, because
Yes.
I'm working a full-time job to support this network. I have some sponsors, some advertisers, but as you can tell, I'm doing good work, and you can support me by becoming a patron for as little as $10 a month, and there are bigger opportunities to do that as well. So that's enough about me. Let's get into some.
Wait, but let me add.
Yes.
Let me add. Because what you do is so important, and you talking about that represents what all of us do is hard. What you do is hard, creating specifically LGBTQ plus content and platforms, queer stories, and telling them. We joked about how our movie was hard to make. Your broadcast is hard to achieve. It is still hard to tell our stories, and the political climate is continuing to make it harder just to be our kind of people. So your viewers absolutely should support your work. We're giving out $20,000 in grants and cash awards from our foundation, but it takes money to do the work that all of us do. And I hope your viewers do appreciate and support you financially, because you provide a platform for us. We provide a platform for the next generation. All of our community lifts itself up. A rising tide lifts all boats.
I taught him all that stuff to say.
She did. She gave me bullet points.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, plugging my plug. That was very gracious of you.
Yes.
So one more serendipitous thing. We've talked about how Leslie became, very famous on social media during the pandemic. Well, Emerson, you and Del were doing a very regular broadcast during the pandemic, and I was very impressed with it. And I asked Del how you were pulling it off, and he told me to ask you, and you told me you use StreamYard. Well, honey, look what I have learned to do
And here
with
we are.
StreamYard.
Glorious. Your fully professional studio.
Exactly, with like roll-ins and lower thirds and curating social media credits.
Yes.
All right. Enough about me. Let's get into the home stretch of the show, a celebration of Olivia Newton-John. So some of you had brushes with fame before Sordid Lives, clearly, but then you're making this movie, and this international sensation, Olivia Newton-John, is in it. What must have that been like for those of you who were there for the first movie? Let's start with you, Anne.
Well, Del asked me to read all of Bitsy May's parts and put it on tape, and he wanted to send it to Olivia so she would get the sound right, with the twang and whatever the Texas kind of accent, and I was happy to do that. And then when she came on the set, she was exactly the way you wanted her to be. Exactly. She was kind to everybody. She wasn't a diva at all. She fit right in with all of us. And I couldn't have been happier to know her because she just was so delightful. She was just delightful, and she was a wonderful actress and a great singer, obviously. But it was just a wonderful welcome for all of us to have her there. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Rosemary and Newell, what about you?
Well, we actually had met Olivia at theater when Newell was and was Leslie in that
the one that I directed. Yeah.
Right. And Olivia came to see the show, and we met her. We went out to dinner afterwards, and Olivia's sister Rona was there, and she was just gracious and sweet. And when we were in pre-production for Sordid Lives, in a former life, I was a fashion show producer, and I coordinated fashions and shows. So Del asked me if I would go with Rona, Olivia's sister, and Olivia to her house to help go through her clothes and figure out what she had that she would like to wear that was appropriate and what we needed to go shopping for. So Sharon Lane and Olivia and Rona and I drove out to Malibu. Well, who wouldn't be thrilled to get to go into Olivia Newton-John's closet with her?
Wow.
And pick out the clothes. And the thing is, Rona was there, her sister, so I sort of, thought I'll just let Rona take the lead. And when we got in the closet, Olivia's like, okay, what do we want? And I said, well, short skirts, bra tops, kind of sexy. She's a bar singer. And she goes, I got it. So she goes, wait a minute, Chloe, my daughter, she has some things. She goes running out, comes back. I mean, she was like a kid playing. It was so much fun. And then finally it came down to, we had everything except a short leather skirt and a pair of jeans. So Sharon Lane said, let's go to Fred Siegel's. Pricey, but it's Olivia. So we go to Fred Siegel's, and she tries on a few jeans, and I said, try these. And she put those on, and they were dark and tight and high-waisted, and everybody goes, yes, those.
I didn't.
All right. Thank you for those lovely stories. And Emerson, did you have a chance to meet Olivia Newton-John? Because you were so part of this tribe for, and she was alive much longer. So when you became into the picture.
I did, but it's, because, obviously when we got to the series, we were all together. But I actually met Olivia at the very beginning of my time in LA, because when we opened all of the plays as a part of a season of Shores, the opening night of Southern Baptist Sissies, I wasn't in because Scott Presley was playing the role that night. So I was just in the audience, and I'm standing in line waiting for the bathroom at the Zephyr Theater. And I tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Olivia Newton-John. And she says, "You're Emerson." And I did a full 360-degree spin and said, "And you're Olivia Newton-John." And I know why I know that, but why do you know that? And she said she was there with her sister Rona, and she said Rona's son is named Emerson, and Del told us there was a new sissy named Emerson and pointed you out. But so yes, my very first encounter was her already knowing who I was, and that is still thrilling 17 years later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, so this is a photo that Del published not recently, but of course since Olivia Newton has John died. And he says, "I think this is my favorite picture with Olivia. Fall of 1999, directing her in Sordid Lives. She suggested taking the blue gum and putting it on the microphone. So many memories." So with that, I think it's a great time for us to watch the closing credit sequence of Sordid Lives with Olivia singing. And then my guest and I are going to come back for some final remarks on what started out tough for me, but has been a very joyful episode of PromoHomo.TV and celebration of Leslie and Olivia and all of you. So here is the closing credit sequence with Olivia Newton-John singing.
Betsy, have you ever had an affair with anybody with missing limbs or anything?
Not that I can remember, Juanita.
I once had an affair with a man with only one testicle.
Now who's to judge who's a saint and who's a sinner? Lord, it's tough enough to trudge from brunch to dinner. We seek the light of truth between our white lies. We sleep away our youth under tattletale skies. Now who's to say who's a sinner and who's a saint? Who's to say who you can love and who you can't? Now it's easy for the pot to call the kettle black. They're just jealous of the hot and lusty sordid lives they lack. Ain't it a bitch sorting out our sordid lives? It's a bitch when you come to realize. Break yourself a box of Cracker Jacks, you can get a really shitty prize. It's a bitch sorting out our sordid lives. Now we struggle coming down the chute to take our first breath, and we struggle for acceptance from up to death. But the Lord's too busy trying to keep the world on its feet. He ain't got time to give a damn about what goes on between the sheets. Ain't it a bitch sorting out our sordid lives? It's a bitch when you come to realize. Grab yourself a box of Cracker Jack, you can get a really shitty prize. It's a bitch sorting out our sorry little sordid lives.
That's real good, Betsy.
Thank you, Juanita.
Now when the Lord dips us in the gene pool, we get more than Granny's green eyes. Yeah, Mama's warmth and our daddy's cool, and that thing between our thighs. That's the start of all this trouble in our sordid lives. Ain't it a bitch? Sorting out our sordid lives. It's a bitch. When you come to realize. She cries, it's a bitch, sorting out a sorry little sordid
Betsy.
And let me bring my guest back onto the show. Here we are. Well, what a lovely time.
It is, and listening to that, I can't help but like cheer, and like clap along by the end of that song. And that's what I take away from the joy of this family and what they all built and allowed me to join is yes, the description of pain, but more importantly, the joy of our foibles, of our warts and all. I think about what you said about Leslie and the program and his willingness to a fault, to overshare every detail of his life, the good, the bad, and the hilarious. And, and it's that legacy that he leaves behind, that Olivia leaves in the music, that Dell is building with the foundation. And I am finding this week that it's kismet that we had already planned to do this screening, to pay it forward to the next generation, and that on Saturday we'll all gather together at the Camelot where it all started for the movie, and watch and probably cry and definitely laugh all together. And we hope as many people will come and laugh and cry along with us.
Well, this might give Ann Walker a reason to question her disbelief, because when you think of all what are the odds that when Leslie died that this event was already scheduled at the Camelot Theaters, which had such an amazing history with the film, and that all of us were already going to be there, and we have this history too. I mean, it's just it's things like that that I just really love.
You know, the Jewish faith has, it's called Bashert. It was meant to be. It just doesn't take any reasoning behind it. It just was meant to be because we all needed it. And, you know, the fans have been so incredible. I have actually, my phone has been continuously getting my, you know, messages and texts and things, you know, and I've actually tried to, and it's helped me because I tried to answer them. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who wrote me, and I suppose wrote everybody. And we so appreciate the depth of their fandom, you know, the depth that they, because so many of them, they started out as fans, but they ended up as friends. And we couldn't be happier. And I'm just, I'm very grateful, very thankful that I was a part of all this. And Emerson, you have never once made us feel like you were a stepchild. You came in and you were our baby, and we have forever enjoyed you. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure, and I have all but pushed you around this country, these projects. I have dragged the three of you above and beyond and around, and it is my great joy and my great pleasure. You know, I find myself, thank you for this, Nicholas. This is cathartic. And
yes, thank you, Nicholas.
Just sitting in gratitude for the incredible things we have all been able to do and share together.
Yeah.
Newell and Rosemary, go ahead.
The gratitude for the time working with Leslie and Olivia and Sarah, it's priceless. It's beyond rubies, and to have the lovely films to look at and remember, you know, it's I still don't really believe that Leslie and Olivia are gone. I mean,
I know
it doesn't compute, and I know that's just my way to protect myself from just falling down in the floor and screaming, because I cherish them both so much. I would always want to have them with us.
Leslie's a scene stealer. I think that's a big part of it, actually. David Cowgill said, I directed them in Sordid Lives and Cheating, and Leslie's there upstage from David, and David came back and he said, man, he said, I'm getting a laugh. You know, that little thing that I do like that? He said, I get a laugh every time I do that. And I said, I'm not laughing at you. And he goes, oh, bullshit. I said, who's on stage with you?
I can attest to that, being on stage with Leslie.
Yeah.
Well, Saturday night will be a really powerful night. Emerson, are there tickets left?
There are. You know, the Camelot seat's big, so we've got plenty of room. Come on down. General admission tickets are $32.09, of course. VIP tickets are $132.09 as we raise funds for the Del Shores Foundation, and that includes a $6.15 VIP upstairs at the Camelot with Rosemary, Newell, and Ann, and me and Del, and some mashed potatoes and fried chicken. And it's a costume contest, a sordid costume contest. And y'all, even if you don't want to dress up, get a cheap boa in honor of Brother Boy and throw it over your shoulders. Del said he ordered a fuchsia one today. So come hang out.
I did too.
I think I'm going to break out one of your bridesmaids' dresses.
That'd be great.
I wear a red bra, except we've auctioned them all.
I was going to say, we've sold them all to people.
There's 7 original red bras out there.
Well, all you need to do is go buy more red bras, put them on, and right, exactly. Well, once again, thank you. You know, I have to say that I have been keeping it together just by focused on producing a program that would be a great tribute to Leslie.
And you've done very well too. Thank you.
Well, it's just my honor to know all of you, and I look forward to giving you all hugs on Saturday night. And anything else any of you are compelled to say before we wrap?
Well, I mean, lest we end too heavily, you know, when Del wrote this part for me and Leslie in A Very Sordid Wedding, Leslie read the script and called Del and said, I don't know if Emerson can pull this off. It's awfully butch. And then, as we shot my giant monologue, it was 110 degrees in Texas. I am laying naked in his lap, and he looks at Del, sweat pouring from his wig, and says, does he really need to say all these lines? I mean, we get it. And then as I'm trying to focus, he keeps poking the comforter and going, show it to me. Show it to me. So this wonderfully genius, irreverent, talented man that we all lost and shared.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to wrap the show with all of us on screen. My closing credit sequence is 1.5 minutes if you want to hang out for some brief conversation when we're done. But thanks again, and I'll see all of you Saturday night.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
And for viewers around the world, for those of you lucky enough to be in Palm Springs, maybe I'm going to see you as well. But I think this is a really important, historic episode, and I encourage you to share it widely with your friends, fans, and followers. And until next time, with some really lovely, beautiful people who I've known and loved for a long time, we all thank you for watching. And
don't forget to watch HGTV, Leslie's show with us.
Yes, that's a good plug. And you know what? You will be getting more of Leslie Jordan than you ever imagined from here on out. Talk about a comet. Leslie will always be with us, and I'll see all of you soon.
Sure.
Bye.
Thanks, Nicholas.